Days turned into weeks, and Ethan found himself spending more time in the gardens with Princess Soraya. Each visit revealed something new, about her, about the Lyrans, and about himself. What had begun with a small gift, a simple music box, was evolving into a genuine connection. It was subtle, quiet, and measured, but undeniably there. Soraya had begun to trust Ethan in ways few others could. She asked him questions not just about human inventions, but about human life. Why humans created, why they enjoyed music, and why they found joy in simple things. Ethan was careful in his answers, explaining with honesty yet avoiding anything that might offend her deeply traditional culture. Why do humans find pleasure in art when it serves no immediate purpose? Soraya asked one afternoon as they walked along a path lined with silver-leafed trees that shimmered like liquid metal. Ethan smiled, pausing to adjust the small, kinetic sculpture they had built together. Art, it helps us understand each other and the world. It shows who we are even in ways words cannot. It's a way of connecting, of communicating what we feel inside. Soraya tilted her head, thoughtful. Connection. Humans value that. We observe, we calculate, we plan. But feeling, it is not always measured. Perhaps humans have discovered something we overlook. Ethan felt a warmth in her words. He realized that she wasn't just curious about the music box or the sculpture. She was curious about humans themselves. And in return, he was learning about Lyran culture, their discipline, their intelligence, and their capacity for observation. One morning, as the twin sons of Zithara rose together, casting golden and violet light across the gardens, Soraya approached Ethan with a new idea. I wish to learn more than your small devices, she said, her voice calm but carrying a hint of excitement. I want to understand your approach to problem solving. Humans seem able to see possibilities where others see only limits. Ethan blinked, surprised but pleased. I can show you, Princess. We could start with something simple. A challenge, perhaps, something to solve together. It could be a puzzle or a mechanism that needs adjustment. Soraya's sharp eyes gleamed. A challenge, yes. That is acceptable. Humans teach differently than we do. I am curious. Over the next few hours, they worked side by side on a complex device Ethan had brought from Earth, a small automaton designed to sort objects based on size and weight. Soraya watched closely as Ethan explained each mechanism, demonstrating how adjustments could improve performance. You approach problems logically but with creativity, she observed. Lyrans tend to follow procedures relying on precision and experience. Humans consider possibilities others overlook. This is valuable. Ethan felt a surge of pride. Her words were not just appreciation. They were recognition of human ingenuity. Thank you, Princess. Humans often learn by experimenting, by testing ideas even if they fail the first time. Sometimes the best solution comes from unexpected methods. Soraya studied the automaton as it worked flawlessly under Ethan's adjustments. Then for the first time she allowed herself a small laugh. It was quiet, almost musical, but to Ethan it was breathtaking. He realized that her laughter, like her smile, was rare, a window into a side of the princess few had ever seen. You have shown me patience, Ethan, she said, and perhaps humility. You do not assume superiority. That is unusual among your kind. Ethan shook his head, smiling. I do not feel superior, Princess. I just try to do what I can. We all have strengths, even if they differ from yours. The conversation was interrupted by a subtle hum in the distance. Ethan glanced toward the city beyond the gardens and noticed that some Lyran guards were moving with a deliberate sense of purpose. Something was happening. He could feel it instinctively. Princess, he said, slightly uneasy. Is everything all right? Soraya's expression became more serious, a flicker of her usual composure returning. There are discussions among the court. Not all Lyrans approve of your presence. Some question the influence humans may have. Ethan nodded. He had expected resistance. It was natural. Change, even small, was often met with hesitation or fear. I understand, Princess. I will continue to respect your culture and the court. I only wish to help. Soraya regarded him quietly for a moment, then placed a hand on the automaton. Your actions speak more than words. That is why I trust you. Not everyone is willing to see beyond tradition. You have shown that humans can contribute without taking control. The tension in the garden softened, replaced by an atmosphere of quiet determination. Together they continued working, adjusting the automaton and testing new methods. The princess asked questions that challenged Ethan's assumptions, and in turn, he explained not just the mechanics, but the reasoning behind his choices. This collaboration became routine over the following days. The princess would summon Ethan to the gardens each morning, and they would work on small inventions, puzzles, or mechanical devices. With each session, Ethan saw her growing more open to ideas, more willing to explore beyond the strict traditions of her society. Yet, the outside world of Lyran politics continued to whisper. Some members of the court were clearly uneasy with Ethan's influence, seeing it as a potential threat to their control. Rumors began to circulate, subtle warnings delivered through advisors and attendants. They questioned whether humans could be trusted, whether their creativity could disrupt the careful order of Lyran society. Ethan learned of these whispers indirectly, through careful observation. He noticed glances, murmurs, and cautious behavior whenever he entered court areas outside the gardens. He did not feel anger. He understood their concern, but he knew that trust, once earned, had to be maintained. One misstep, and his bond with the princess could be jeopardized. One afternoon, Soraya invited Ethan to a small balcony overlooking the city. The twin suns cast long shadows across the crystalline towers, and the rivers glowed faintly in the distance. She handed him a delicate crystal lens, a Lyran device used for observing minute details in machinery. "Observe the city, Ethan," she said. "See how the systems work together. Humans may see patterns we overlook. I wish to understand your perspective." Ethan took the lens and scanned the city. He noticed details that even Soraya had not mentioned. The flow of energy through conduits, the way structural vibrations harmonized with the movement of transport vehicles, and subtle inefficiencies in minor mechanisms. He explained each observation to the princess, pointing out how small adjustments could improve overall performance. Soraya listened intently, asking questions and making notes in a digital tablet. "You see, connections we take for granted," she said. "Your species thinks differently, perhaps. We can learn from that," Ethan smiled. "That is the hope, Princess. Humans often find solutions by looking at the bigger picture and noticing details others miss." She regarded him with quiet admiration. "I did not expect humans to contribute so meaningfully. Your gift, your actions, your patience, it all matters. I'm learning that your species is capable of more than I imagined." That evening, as Ethan returned to his quarters, he reflected on the day. The bond with Soraya was no longer based solely on curiosity or novelty. It was now founded on mutual respect, trust, and collaboration. Humans, he realized, had something unique to offer, and Princess Soraya was beginning to recognize it. Yet he knew the challenges ahead. The whispers of the court, the skepticism of the Lyran elites, and the delicate balance of tradition and innovation were all forces he would need to navigate carefully. But he felt ready. He had learned that small gestures, thoughtful actions, and steady patience could bridge even the widest cultural gaps. Late that night, Ethan sat at his desk and examined the music box once more. The melody played softly, a reminder of how far a small gift could reach. It had started as a simple token of goodwill, but it had grown into something far greater. A connection that could reshape perceptions and perhaps even influence the future of human-Lyran relations. Ethan closed his eyes, thinking of Soraya in the gardens, her curiosity, her laughter, and her rare smiles. He knew that the bond they were building was fragile but powerful. One misstep could break it, but the potential rewards, understanding, respect, and perhaps even friendship, were worth every careful move he made. And so, with a heart full of purpose and a mind racing with ideas, Ethan prepared for the next day. The music box sat on his desk, quiet now, but its influence had already set events in motion. A small gift had become the first step in a journey of discovery, trust, and shared growth. Ethan understood one thing clearly. Humans, with their ingenuity, persistence, and thoughtfulness, could leave a mark even in a world as advanced and disciplined as Scythera, and Princess Soraya, with her intelligence and rare openness, might just be the key to proving it. The following morning, Ethan awoke early, excitement and nervousness buzzing through him. The memory of Princess Soraya's rare smile from the previous day lingered vividly in his mind. It was a simple expression, yet it carried more meaning than any ceremony. any speech or any protocol he had ever witnessed. That smile was a door opening, however slightly, and he knew he had to step through it carefully. After breakfast in the human delegation quarters, Ethan made his way back to the palace gardens. The morning sun reflected off the crystal-like trees, making the world shimmer in soft golden light. Birds, alien creatures with transparent wings, fluttered about, their calls echoing lightly through the air. Ethan inhaled deeply, trying to steady his nerves. Today, he had promised himself, he would show the princess a little more of human ingenuity. He carried with him the music box again, but this time, he had modified it slightly. Using tiny gears and a new mechanism, he had added a feature that allowed the melody to loop automatically, and even play a soft variation of notes each time it repeated. It was a small improvement, but one that reflected human creativity and persistence, qualities he hoped the princess would notice. As he entered the garden, he saw Soraya already there. Walking along a path lined with luminous flowers, she was observing a collection of small statues made of crystal, tilting her head as she studied the details of each one. Her robes flowed around her gracefully, catching the light in ways that made her appear almost ethereal. Ethan hesitated for a moment, unsure whether he should approach. But then, gathering his courage, he stepped forward. "Princess Soraya," he said softly, bowing in respect. She turned her gaze toward him, her expression unreadable. Ethan's heart raced. Would she be annoyed? Curious or indifferent? "You have returned," she said finally, her voice calm, precise, and measured. "I was considering your previous gift." Ethan nodded. "Yes, Princess, I thought you might like to see a small improvement. It's still the music box, but now it plays slightly differently each time. Just a little change to make it more interesting." Soraya studied him for a moment, her sharp eyes analyzing, weighing. Then she inclined her head slightly, a gesture that allowed him to proceed. Ethan carefully placed the music box on a low pedestal, winding it to start the melody. The first notes played softly, then repeated in a subtle variation. Soraya's expression remained calm at first, her eyes scanning the intricate movements of the gears. Ethan could feel the weight of her gaze, and it made him slightly nervous. Then something remarkable happened. The princess leaned closer, almost imperceptibly, her hands hovering above the music box as if she wanted to touch it but hesitated. Her eyes widened slightly, reflecting the soft light from the garden. The melody, delicate and varied, seemed to intrigue her in ways no one could have predicted. "It changes," she said softly, her voice betraying the tiniest hint of wonder. "Each cycle is slightly different." "It is clever," Ethan bowed again. "Thank you, Princess. I thought it might show a little of human creativity. We like to experiment, to improve small things, even when they seem simple." Soraya's gaze lingered on him, and then she smiled, another rare and beautiful expression that made Ethan's chest tighten with awe. "Humans are resourceful," she said. "I underestimated your kind. This is fascinating." The court, as usual, observed silently from a distance. Many Lyrans were unaccustomed to witnessing such open admiration for humans, especially from the princess herself. Some whispered among themselves, careful not to offend Soraya, while others simply stared, captivated by the unusual scene. Encouraged by her reaction, Ethan moved a little closer. "If you like, Princess, I can show you how it works in more detail. It's all about small gears moving together, each one turning another. It may seem simple, but it requires careful planning." Soraya considered his offer for a moment. Then she nodded once. "Do so, human. Explain." Ethan spent the next hour demonstrating the inner workings of the music box. He pointed to each tiny gear, explaining its function and how it interacted with the others. Soraya asked questions, precise, intelligent, and thoughtful. She wanted to understand not just the mechanics, but the purpose, the intention behind the creation. "You do not merely build," she said finally. "You think ahead. You anticipate the result of your actions. Humans are deliberate in ways I did not fully appreciate." Ethan felt a flush of pride. "We try, Princess. Every creation, every improvement is a reflection of thought and care. Even small things can be important." Soraya studied him for a long moment, then reached out, winding the music box again. She let it play, her hand steady, her eyes reflecting curiosity and approval. The melody filled the garden once more, soft and pleasant, intertwining with the gentle hum of alien nature. You have brought a new perspective, she said quietly. Not many humans have impressed me in this way. Your gift, your effort, it shows intention, it is meaningful. Ethan bowed deeply. I am honored, Princess. That was my hope. I wanted to share something of Earth and perhaps something of myself. The princess's gaze softened, a subtle but profound change. You have succeeded, human. Few of my kind would take the time, the care to present such a thing. You have a mind I wish to understand further. Over the following days, Soraya began to invite Ethan to spend more time in the gardens. They would discuss art, music, and the intricate details of human inventions. Ethan taught her how small mechanical devices worked, how tiny adjustments could change outcomes, and how creativity often came from observing the world carefully. Soraya was a quick learner, absorbing each explanation with focused attention. She asked questions that revealed a depth of thought Ethan had not expected. And in turn, he learned more about the Lyrans than he ever could from books or reports. He saw their values, their logic, their social structures, and the subtle ways they expressed trust and approval. With each visit, the bond between them grew stronger, though carefully measured. Soraya's rare smiles and gestures of interest became small rewards for Ethan's efforts, but they also hinted at a deeper connection. She respected his intellect, his curiosity, and his willingness to take risks in sharing human culture with her. Outside the gardens, not everyone approved. Some members of the Lyran court viewed Ethan's growing presence near the princess with suspicion. They whispered that humans were unpredictable, perhaps even dangerous in their unfamiliar ways. Yet Soraya seemed unbothered by these murmurs. She made it clear through subtle actions and words that she valued Ethan's insights and his perspective. One afternoon, as the sun bathed the gardens in warm light, Ethan and Soraya worked together on a new project, a miniature kinetic sculpture that moved using wind and small mechanical levers. Soraya's hands were precise, her movements elegant and confident, yet she relied on Ethan's guidance. Together they adjusted tiny components, testing how each part affected the whole. This feels different, Soraya said, her voice softer than usual. Working with you. It is not like following strict protocol. There is creativity and perhaps even enjoyment. Ethan smiled. Yes, Princess. That is what humans often find in creation. We enjoy solving problems, seeing how small things can work together to make something greater. She tilted her head, studying the sculpture. Humans may understand balance in ways we overlook. Your species has perspective. That afternoon, they completed the sculpture, and Soraya's reaction surprised Ethan once more. She examined it from every angle, then allowed herself a full, open smile. This is beautiful, she said. Not because it is perfect, but because it reflects effort, care, and understanding. Like your gift, human, you make small things meaningful. Ethan felt a warm pride, but he also recognized the subtle weight of this moment. This was more than appreciation. It was trust, respect, and curiosity combined. The princess, for all her discipline and intelligence, was responding not just to a gift, but to him as a person. That evening, as Ethan returned to his quarters, he reflected on the day. The simple act of giving a small gift, a music box, had led to conversations, shared creativity, and mutual respect. The bond forming between him and Soraya was growing, slowly but undeniably. And though challenges surely lay ahead, Ethan felt a renewed sense of purpose. He placed the music box carefully on his desk, winding it once more. The melody filled the room softly, and he smiled, thinking of the princess in her gardens, curious, thoughtful, and surprisingly warm. Humanity, he realized, had much to offer, even in small gestures, and sometimes those gestures could bridge worlds. Ethan closed his eyes, feeling a quiet excitement. He knew this was only the beginning. The trust and connection he had started to build with Princess Soraya could lead to far greater things. Not just understanding, but respect, friendship, and perhaps even a deeper alliance between humans and Lyrans. And all of it had started with a small handcrafted gift. Tomorrow would bring new opportunities, new challenges, and perhaps new surprises. Ethan was ready for them, determined to continue showing the princess what humans could achieve, both with their minds and their hearts. And somewhere deep inside, he hoped that she would continue to show him the rare warmth that had already changed his world. Ethan Reed had never expected to be standing in the gardens of an alien palace, staring at a city unlike anything he had ever seen. The planet Zithera stretched below him, its spires and towers shining with strange metallic colors that shifted in the sunlight. Rivers glowed faintly, carrying a light of their own, and the trees, tall and crystalline, sparkled as if made of glass. To any human, this world would have felt unreal, almost magical. But for Ethan, it was a place of duty. He had been assigned as part of a human diplomatic mission, sent to observe, learn, and assist in any technological needs of the Lyrans. Lyrans were an alien species known for their intelligence, discipline, and emotional restraint. They had a long history of scientific achievements, and their civilization was centuries ahead of humanity in many ways. Yet, despite their sophistication, they rarely interacted with humans on a personal level. Ethan had spent weeks inside the palace compound, working quietly on upgrades for the city's energy grids and ship systems. Most of the time, he moved like a shadow, unseen and unnoticed by the court or the princess herself. He liked it that way. It gave him the freedom to observe, to study Lyran culture, and to understand the subtle ways they communicated. But today was different. Today, Ethan felt a spark of boldness. As he walked along the palace gardens, he saw her, the alien Princess Soraya. She was unlike any Lyran he had ever read about. Her presence commanded attention even without a word. She was tall and elegant, her form graceful in every movement. Yet there was an intensity in her eyes that made Ethan feel both nervous and inspired. The princess rarely left her chambers or appeared in public, and when she did, she maintained a strict composure, showing no emotion. But as Ethan watched from a distance, he noticed something unusual. The princess was pausing to observe small artifacts scattered along the garden paths, tiny mechanical devices, artistic carvings, and delicate puzzles left by ambassadors or citizens. Her eyes lingered longer on them than was typical for her kind, her hands brushing lightly over their surfaces. It was curiosity, genuine and quiet, and Ethan realized he had found an opening. He had brought a small item with him from Earth, something handcrafted but simple, a mechanical music box. It was polished wood with brass gears inside, designed to play a soft melody when wound. To humans, it was nothing extraordinary, but to a species unfamiliar with such intricacies, it could be fascinating. Ethan had often tinkered with the music box during quiet moments on his ship, and now he wondered if it could serve a higher purpose, a bridge between himself and the elusive princess. Taking a deep breath, Ethan approached the princess cautiously. The soft rustle of his boots on the polished walkway made him feel painfully aware of every step. He bowed slightly, a gesture he had learned from observing the Lyrans. "Your Highness," he said, keeping his voice calm despite the rapid beat of his heart. I have something from my home. It is a small gift, but I hope it may bring you some curiosity or enjoyment." Soraya's eyes shifted to him, and for a moment, Ethan thought she would turn away, as she usually did with strangers, but she tilted her head, a gesture of mild interest, and motioned for him to continue. That small invitation was enough to steady his nerves. Carefully, Ethan opened the music box, revealing its inner gears and the small crank. "It is a music box from Earth," he explained. "You wind it and it plays a melody. Humans often make these as gifts for friends or loved ones. It is simple but meaningful." The princess's expression remained calm, almost imperceptible, but her eyes focused on the device intently. Ethan felt a flicker of hope. He wound the crank slowly, and the soft, delicate notes began to play, filling the quiet garden with a melody that seemed both foreign and familiar. For a moment, the world seemed to pause. The sunlight glinted off the crystalline trees. The city's glow softened, and even the distant hum of machinery felt muted. The princess reached out, her fingers brushing the surface of the music box with surprising gentleness. Her eyes widened slightly, a subtle movement, but enough for Ethan to notice. She turned the box, examining it from different angles, and finally spoke. Her voice was soft but precise, carefully measured as all Lyran speech was. "This moves in ways I have not seen before. The gears, the motion, it is intricate yet balanced." Ethan nodded, relieved that she understood. "Yes, Princess. Humans take care in creating these. Every gear, every note is meant to work together to make something beautiful." Soraya studied the music box in silence for several moments, her attention completely absorbed. Then, unexpectedly, she smiled. It was a rare expression, almost radiant, and it made Ethan's chest tighten with surprise. Humans were known to smile often, but for a Lyran, this was extraordinary. "You have brought me joy," she said simply, her words deliberate, carrying weight beyond their simplicity. "I did not expect such thoughtfulness from your species. It is pleasing." Ethan bowed again, feeling a mixture of pride and disbelief. "I am glad, Princess. That was my intention." The court, which had been observing the interaction from a distance, exchanged quiet whispers. Some appeared shocked that Soraya had smiled at all, let alone at a human's gift. Others looked puzzled, unsure how to interpret the gesture. For Ethan, though, it was clear. He had crossed a barrier, however small, between human and alien. Soraya motioned for him to sit beside her. Ethan hesitated but complied, careful not to overstep any boundaries. She continued examining the music box, winding it again and watching the delicate mechanism move. "Humans create many things that I do not understand fully," she said almost to herself. "Yet there is care in your actions that is clear." Ethan's hands rested on his knees and he felt a strange mix of nerves and exhilaration. "We often try to show appreciation through small gestures," he said. "Even simple gifts can carry meaning." The princess tilted her head, considering this. "Meaning is something I am learning humans value. Perhaps we are not so different after all." For Ethan, those words were remarkable. The Lyrans were known for their restraint and intellectual approach to life. Emotional openness, especially toward humans, was extremely rare. And here was Soraya, speaking almost candidly, showing curiosity, and even a hint of admiration. They sat together in the garden for what felt like hours, though it was likely only minutes. Ethan explained aspects of the music box, how the gears worked, and how humans used music to communicate feelings. Soraya listened attentively, asking precise questions that revealed her deep intelligence and keen observational skills. In that quiet moment, surrounded by crystalline trees and softly glowing rivers, Ethan realized something important. The gift he had thought trivial, a small music box, was more than a token. It was a bridge. A simple human creation had opened a window into understanding, trust, and even friendship. As the melody ended, Soraya carefully closed the music box and looked at Ethan with a measure of respect. "Your gift has value beyond what I expected. Humans may yet surprise me further." Ethan smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment that went beyond pride. "I hope so, Princess. I hope we can continue to learn from each other." She nodded once, almost imperceptibly, then rose gracefully. "Perhaps we shall. But understand this. Trust must be earned, not given lightly. You have taken a small step, human." Ethan bowed deeply. "I will do my best to honor it." As Soraya walked away, her robes flowing elegantly over the polished stone paths, Ethan felt a surge of determination. This was just the beginning. A small gift had created a spark, a connection that could grow into something far greater. But he knew the path ahead would be challenging. Lyran society was complex, their politics delicate, and outsiders were viewed with suspicion. He would need patience, courage, and ingenuity to navigate the next steps. Walking back to his quarters, Ethan could not help but glance at the music box in his hands. It seemed ordinary in the dim light, but he now understood its significance. Small things, created with thought and care, could change perceptions even across worlds. Perhaps this was what humanity had to offer the stars, not just technology or strength, but creativity, thoughtfulness, and the courage to reach out, even when the outcome was uncertain. That night, as Ethan prepared for sleep, he thought of the princess and her unexpected reaction. Her smile replayed in his mind, vivid and bright. He realized that in a universe filled with advanced technology, powerful civilizations, and countless unknowns, sometimes the simplest gestures were the most extraordinary. And so, with a heart full of hope and a mind racing with possibilities, Ethan drifted into sleep, dreaming of what the future might hold, not just for him and Princess Soraya, but for humanity among the stars. Little did he know, the music box was only the first step of a journey that would test his courage, ingenuity, and heart in ways he could never have imagined. The palace gardens were quiet that morning. A soft mist drifted over the crystalline pathways, and the twin sons of Zithira had just begun their ascent, casting pale golden light across the landscape. Ethan walked beside Princess Soraya, carrying the small music box, the original gift that had sparked everything between them. Today was different. There was an energy in the air, subtle but palpable, as if the palace itself recognized the importance of the moment. Ethan felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Their journey, from the first music box to the stabilization of the city's energy grid, had been extraordinary. But now, he was unsure what reaction his final gesture would elicit. Soraya walked silently beside him, her robes flowing gracefully. Her expression was calm, but Ethan sensed an undercurrent of anticipation. He had chosen this morning carefully. The music box had been modified once more. Now it played a melody with multiple layers, combining human harmonies with a faint, adaptive variation that changed slightly with each rotation of the gears. It was subtle, beautiful, and unlike anything the princess had seen before. "Princess Soraya," Ethan began softly, bowing slightly as he set the music box on a low pedestal between them. "This is a gift for you, not just for your appreciation of music, or for your curiosity about human inventions, but to show you a piece of human thought, care, and creativity. I hope you find it meaningful." Soraya's eyes studied him, her gaze steady and precise. She did not move, yet Ethan felt the weight of her attention. He wound the music box carefully and stepped back. The melody began, soft, complex, and subtly evolving with each note. At first, Soraya's expression remained controlled, as always. She observed the movement of the gears, the precision of the craftsmanship, and the gentle variation of the music. Ethan held his breath, unsure if the subtle improvements would be noticed. Then something remarkable happened. The princess leaned slightly closer, her hands hovering just above the music box. Her sharp eyes reflected surprise, wonder, and an almost imperceptible warmth. The melody, simple yet intricate, seemed to resonate with something inside her, something she rarely revealed to anyone. "This changes," she said softly, almost in disbelief. "Every rotation, every note, it is different. Yet the harmony, it is perfect." Ethan nodded, relieved. "Yes, princess. That was my intention. Humans often find beauty in variation and subtle changes. We believe it reflects life itself, never exactly the same, yet always meaningful." Soraya remained silent for a moment, allowing the music to fill the space around them. Then, unexpectedly, she reached out and touched the music box. Her fingers moved over the delicate gears, careful but assured. She closed her eyes briefly, absorbing the sound, the motion, and the thought behind the creation. Ethan watched in awe. The princess, who was usually so composed and controlled, was showing genuine emotion. Her rare smiles, her quiet laughter, and now this moment of wonder. It was more than he had dared to hope for. "You, humans," she said finally, her voice soft but carrying weight, "create with thought, precision, and care. This small gift demonstrates qualities I had not expected. You think beyond what is immediate, what is necessary. You imagine." Ethan bowed deeply. "Thank you, princess. That is the hope of this gift, to share not just a melody but a piece of human perspective. I wanted you to see that even small efforts can carry meaning, intention, and care." Soraya's gaze softened, and for the first time she allowed herself a full, open smile, one of genuine warmth free of protocol or restraint. Ethan's heart raced. The moment felt suspended in time, the music playing as if in celebration of their connection. "You have changed my view," Soraya said quietly. "Humans, I underestimated your kind. This gift, it is more than music or mechanics. It is thought, effort, and heart. You have given me something rare, something meaningful." Ethan felt a deep sense of accomplishment, but also humility. This was not just recognition of skill. It was recognition of humanity itself through a simple act of creativity. The princess's reaction surpassed anything he could have imagined. For the next hour, they watched the music box together. Ethan explained how the gears worked, how the variations were created, and how the melody could change slightly without losing its harmony. Soraya asked questions not to test him, but out of curiosity, fascination, and genuine interest. She studied the craftsmanship with focused attention, her expression shifting from analytical to amazed, and then to quiet joy. "You have shown me patience, intelligence, and thoughtfulness," she said finally. "Not all creatures demonstrate such qualities. Not all can create meaning from simple actions. You have succeeded, Ethan, more than you realize." Ethan smiled. "Thank you, princess. I only did what I could. Humans, we often try to make a difference, even in small ways, and sometimes that difference is noticed. Soraya regarded him thoughtfully, then reached out, placing her hand briefly over his. It was a subtle gesture, but in her culture it carried profound significance, a sign of trust, respect, and recognition. Ethan felt a warmth spread through him. The connection they had built over weeks of gifts, collaboration, and trust had reached a new depth. The palisades and guards, observing from a distance, were silent. Such openness from Princess Soraya was rare, almost unprecedented. The bond between her and Ethan was visible, tangible, and undeniable. Over the following days, the princess continued to seek Ethan's presence, not just for gifts or inventions, but for conversation, collaboration, and shared moments of discovery. They explored more of Zathera's gardens, tested small inventions together, and even began planning modest improvements to certain city systems. Ethan's ingenuity, combined with the princess's intellect and curiosity, created results that amazed even the most skeptical members of the court. One afternoon, as they worked on a delicate kinetic sculpture, Soraya paused and looked at Ethan. "You have changed how I perceive humans," she said softly. "Your actions, your gifts, your creativity, they show qualities that my people rarely acknowledge. Courage, intelligence, care, all reflected in small, deliberate acts. You have proven that humans are capable of remarkable contributions." Ethan felt a swell of pride. "I am honored, Princess. I only hope to continue sharing what humans can offer, and to learn from you as well." Soraya smiled. "And you shall, Ethan. You have already left an impression far greater than a single gift." The music box. It was a start. What follows will be even more meaningful. As the twin suns began to set, casting soft violet and gold light across the palace gardens, Ethan realized something profound. This journey, from the first small gift to the incredible reaction of the princess, was more than just a story of human ingenuity. It was a story of connection, trust, and mutual respect across worlds. The music box, now resting on a pedestal between them, symbolized that journey. It had started as a simple act of thoughtfulness, but had grown into a bridge between two species, two cultures, and two minds willing to learn from each other. That night, Ethan returned to his quarters, reflecting on the events of the day. Princess Soraya's incredible reaction to the gift had validated something deeper than skill or creativity. It had recognized humanity's ability to care, to think, and to connect. He knew that challenges would continue. Court politics, skepticism, and cultural differences would always be present. But he also knew that trust, once earned and respect once demonstrated, could change perceptions and open doors that were once closed. The following morning, as Ethan prepared for another session with the princess, he paused to glance at the music box. The melody played softly, a reminder of how a small, thoughtful action could ripple into profound impact, and he smiled knowing that this was only the beginning of what humans and Lyrans could achieve together. Princess Soraya entered the garden, her presence calm yet commanding. She approached Ethan, her eyes reflecting warmth and admiration. "You have given me more than a gift, Ethan," she said softly. "You have shown me the value of patience, thought, and heart. You have changed my perspective, and in doing so, you have earned my respect, my trust, and my gratitude. The human spirit is remarkable. You are remarkable." Ethan felt a quiet pride tempered with humility. "Thank you, Princess. Your words and your trust mean more than I can say. I only hope to continue showing what humans can do, and to learn from you in return." The princess's gaze lingered on him, and then, for the first time, she allowed a small, unguarded smile, a smile that spoke of genuine appreciation, trust, and perhaps the beginning of something extraordinary between them. The music box played on, its soft evolving melody filling the palace gardens, and in that moment, Ethan understood something important. Humans, with their creativity, care, and ingenuity, could leave a lasting impression even in a world far beyond their own. And sometimes a small gift could spark an incredible reaction, one that changed minds, bridged worlds, and built bonds that would endure. The journey was far from over, but Ethan knew that with trust, courage, and human ingenuity, even the most unlikely connections could flourish. And Princess Soraya, she had shown him that a single thoughtful gift could open a door to understanding, respect, and a shared vision for the future. As the sun set, Casting a warm glow over Zithra, Ethan looked at the music box one last time. The calm rhythm of the palace gardens was disrupted one morning by an unusual alarm. Ethan had just entered the gardens with Princess Soraya when a distant hum, sharp and urgent, resonated across the crystalline towers of Zithera. Guards and palace aides moved quickly, their actions precise but tense. Something was happening, something serious. Soraya's eyes narrowed. "That is the energy grid," she said, her voice calm but firm. "A section of the city's main power conduit is failing. It threatens multiple sectors, including residential and transportation systems. If it collapses, many may be affected." Ethan felt a surge of concern. He had studied the grid for weeks and was familiar with its complexity. Zithera's energy systems were unlike anything humans had built, highly advanced and delicately balanced. But he also knew that human engineering principles could apply here. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Princess," he said, "I can help stabilize it. I've studied your systems, and I think I can make temporary adjustments to prevent a collapse." Soraya regarded him silently for a moment, then nodded. "You may. But be aware, failure is not an option. The court and we will trust your judgment in this matter. Succeed and you demonstrate your value beyond gifts and mechanical curiosities." The gravity of her words sank in. Ethan nodded firmly. "I understand, Princess. I will do my best." He was immediately escorted to the control center, a vast room of glowing panels, holographic displays, and intricate circuits. The chief engineers of Zithera were already there, their expressions calm but tense. They glanced at Ethan with a mix of curiosity and skepticism, clearly unsure how much a human could contribute to their advanced systems. Ethan quickly assessed the problem. A critical conduit feeding the northern sectors was overheating due to a software malfunction. If left unchecked, it would trigger cascading failures across multiple nodes. The Lyran engineers had tried standard protocols, but the anomaly persisted. "This is unusual," Ethan said, scanning the holographic schematics. "The software loop seems to have a timing conflict with the secondary relays. If we adjust the cycle slightly, it should stabilize the flow without triggering a shutdown." The Lyran engineers exchanged quiet murmurs. One stepped forward cautiously. "Human, are you certain your adjustments will not destabilize the system further?" Ethan nodded. "I've calculated the adjustments. It's precise, but it requires manual intervention at these nodes." He gestured to the glowing panels. "If we act quickly, we can prevent failure. Timing is critical." Soraya entered the room, her presence commanding attention. The engineers paused respectfully as she observed Ethan's analysis. "You may proceed," she said simply. "Your judgment will determine the outcome." For the next hour, Ethan worked side by side with the Lyran engineers. He guided them through manual adjustments, explaining how minor tweaks could realign the system. The engineers followed his instructions, though some did so reluctantly, their faces revealing doubt. But Soraya's quiet confidence in Ethan seemed to bolster them. The tension in the room was palpable. Energy readings flickered, panels glowed, and soft alarms continued to signal potential danger. Ethan focused intently, coordinating adjustments and recalculating timing sequences. Sweat beaded on his forehead, but he remained steady, relying on logic, observation, and experience. Finally, the energy grid stabilized. Lights across the city shimmered. Panels returned to normal, and the low hum of the system shifted from alarming to steady. Ethan exhaled, relief washing over him. Soraya turned to him, her expression a mixture of admiration and approval. "You have succeeded," she said. "Your actions prevented disaster. The city owes you gratitude." Ethan bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Princess. I only did what I could. Humans, we often find solutions by thinking differently, by observing patterns that others might overlook." Soraya regarded him quietly, then spoke to the room. "Let it be known that this human's knowledge and judgment have proven valuable. You may question his methods, but the outcome is undeniable. Trust must sometimes extend beyond tradition." The engineers nodded, some more reluctantly than others, but all clearly acknowledging his contribution. Ethan felt a deep sense of satisfaction. This was more than just solving a technical problem. It was demonstrating that humans, with their ingenuity and creativity, could make meaningful contributions in a world far advanced beyond Earth. After the crisis, Soraya led Ethan back to the gardens. The twin suns hung low in the sky, casting a golden glow across the crystalline paths. She motioned for him to sit beside her on a stone bench overlooking the softly glowing rivers. "You acted with courage and skill," she said. "I am impressed. Many of my kind would have hesitated relying solely on procedure. You took initiative. That is a rare quality." Ethan smiled, humbled. "I only did what I thought was best. I could not stand by while others were at risk." Soraya's gaze softened. "That is admirable. You demonstrate not only knowledge but heart. Humans may yet prove to be more than we expected. I'm grateful for your presence." For the first time, she allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. Ethan noticed a flicker of warmth in her eyes, subtle but unmistakable. Her trust in him was no longer theoretical. It was tested and proven. He realized that this incident had shifted their relationship. He was no longer just a curious human in the palace gardens. He had become someone Soraya could rely upon in times of crisis. Over the next days, Ethan continued to work with the Lyran engineers, helping them refine processes and improve efficiency. Soraya often accompanied him, observing, learning, and asking questions. Their collaboration became a daily routine, blending human ingenuity with Lyran precision. Through this partnership, Ethan noticed subtle changes in Soraya. She smiled more openly during their work, allowed herself small expressions of delight when experiments succeeded, and even laughed quietly at unexpected results. These were small gestures, but to Ethan they were monumental. The princess's reaction to his first gift, the music box, had opened a door. The energy crisis had strengthened it. Now their bond was more than curiosity. It was trust, respect, and a shared understanding. Yet not all in the palace were pleased. Whispers continued among certain factions of the court. Some viewed Ethan's growing influence as a threat to tradition and control. Rumors spread about the human engineer who impresses the princess, and subtle warnings were issued through intermediaries. Ethan remained aware of this, but Soraya's confidence in him provided a shield. One evening, as the twin moons rose over Zathira, Soraya invited Ethan to walk along a high terrace overlooking the city. The glowing rivers below reflected the moon's light, casting a serene glow across the landscape. "You have proven yourself beyond expectation," Soraya said softly. "Your actions during the crisis demonstrated not only skill but character. Humans may have qualities we seldom observe in our species: courage, ingenuity, perseverance." Ethan looked at her, feeling a mix of pride and humility. "Thank you, Princess. I only do what I can. Humans, we often try to contribute even when the odds are against us." Soraya nodded. "And that is why I value you. Your presence here is not a novelty. It is meaningful. You bring perspective, solutions, and a reminder that even small actions can change outcomes." Ethan smiled, realizing the depth of her words. The music box, the sculptures, and now the crisis, it was all connected. His small gestures, combined with human skill and thoughtfulness, had made a lasting impact. "You have shown me," she continued, "that trust can be earned through action, not just words. And you have earned mine, Ethan. That is rare among those who enter my world." As they stood together, overlooking the softly glowing city, Ethan felt a profound sense of purpose. This was more than a personal achievement. It was a bridge between humans and Lyrans, a demonstration of what collaboration and mutual respect could achieve. The night air was cool, carrying the faint hum of the city below. Ethan knew challenges would continue: skeptics in the court, political pressures, and cultural differences. But for the first time, he felt a sense of belonging. His actions had made a difference, and the princess's trust had validated the worth of humanity's creativity. Courage and heart, and in that quiet moment, with the twin moons reflecting off crystalline towers and rivers, Ethan understood something important. Humans could leave a mark, not just through force or technology, but through ingenuity, thoughtfulness, and a willingness to act when it mattered most. Princess Soraya turned to him, her expression thoughtful yet warm. "Tomorrow," she said, "we will continue our work. But know this, Ethan. You have already shown what is possible. Humans are capable of more than many of my kind imagined. You prove it daily." Ethan bowed, humbled and inspired. "I will continue to do my best, Princess, for you and for all of us." As he returned to his quarters, the city lights shimmering beneath the moons, Ethan reflected on the journey so far. What had started with a small music box had grown into something far greater, a connection built on trust, creativity, and courage. And he knew that the future held even greater challenges and opportunities. Tomorrow, new tests would come, new problems to solve, and new moments to prove the value of human ingenuity. And Ethan was ready.